Hey guys, today we're going to take a little bit of an excerpt from the Making of Star Wars Return of the Jedi book. Chapter 3, Story Conference Summary. Now just before we get into it, you're going to see a conversation between Lawrence Kasdan and George Lucas. Now during pre-production on Return of the Jedi, George Lucas held several day-long story sessions with his director, writer, and producer. In previous videos, I've gone over the transcript from that meeting with you guys, where we see how they came up with the ideas and scenes that we saw in the film, as well as the stuff that they dropped. We also learn about George Lucas's initial thoughts regarding the prequels. So let's get right into it. George says to Kasdan, Anakin Skywalker starting hanging out with the Emperor, who at this point nobody knew was that bad, because he was an elected official. Kasdan asks, was he a Jedi? No, he was a politician. Richard M. Nixon was his name. He subverted the Senate and finally took over and became an imperial guy, and he was really evil. But he pretended to be a really nice guy. He sucked Luke's father into the dark side. George goes to continue. Well, anyway, Luke's father gets subverted by the Emperor. He gets a little weird at home and his wife begins to figure out that things are going wrong and she confides in Ben, who is his mentor. On his missions through the galaxies, Anakin has been going off doing his Jedi thing and a lot of the Jedi have been getting killed. And it's because they turn their back on him and he cuts them down. The president is turning into an emperor and Luke's mother suspects that something has happened to her husband. She is pregnant. Anakin gets worse and worse, and finally, Ben has to fight him and he throws him down into a volcano and Vader is all beat up. Now, when he falls into the pit, his other arm goes and his leg, and there is hardly anything left of him by the time the Emperor's troops fish him out of the drink. Then when Ben finds out that Vader has been fished out and is in the hands of the Empire, he is worried about it. He goes back to Vader's wife and explains that Anakin is the bad guy, the one killing all the Jedi. When he goes back to his wife, Mrs. Skywalker has had the kids, the twins. So she has these two little babies who are 6 months or so old. So everybody has to go into hiding. The Skywalker line is very strong with the Force. So Ben says, I think we should protect the kids because they may be able to help us right the wrong that your husband has created in the universe. And so Ben takes one and gives him to a couple out there on Tatooine. And he gets his little hideout in the hills as he watches him grow. Ben can't raise Luke himself, because he's a wanted man. Leia and Luke's mother go to Alderaan and are taken in by the king there, who is a friend of Ben's. She dies shortly thereafter and Leia is brought up by her foster parents. She knows that her real mother died. She does know that? Says Kasdan. Yes, says George, so we can bring that out when Luke is talking to her. She can say that her mother died when I was 2 years old. So as you guys can see, this really explains why Leia says she remembers her real mother in Return of the Jedi, but doesn't make much sense after the events of the prequels. However, what do you guys think of Anakin killing Jedi in secret? It becomes more of a murder mystery like this. And what about the excuse that Obi-Wan can't raise Luke because he's a wanted man? The whole idea of Obi-Wan not raising Luke kind of seems weird to me. I never really understood why he couldn't just train him since he was a baby. I mean, I get he was paranoid that the Empire might come looking for him and, then the jig would be up and Luke would be in the hands of Vader and the Emperor, which would be his worst nightmare. But at the same time, none of that really happened. He didn't really come into contact with the Empire. At least, he might now, I guess, in canon with the Obi-Wan show. I guess we'll see what happens. Now, I did do a video on what if Luke was trained earlier by Obi-Wan, so you can check out that fanfiction if you want. I think it would have been really interesting if Obi-Wan had just raised Luke, and in that way, Luke's father himself was Obi-Wan, in a sense, and that's all Luke knew. Something else that's interesting is Padme, Mrs. Skywalker. I remember doing a really old fanfiction on what would have happened if she did survive, but that was based on the events of the prequels. What if things had gone the way George describes them here originally in the 80s, or maybe even wrote this up, way before that, which I know he wrote the outline for the prequels first. If you didn't know, apparently his first idea for Star Wars was Anakin and Obi-Wan fighting in the lava, and Anakin losing. It's interesting that Leia goes with Padme, but Luke can't be trained by Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan's just watching over him the whole time. I understand why he does this, but I still think that, I don't know, dude, I just think Uncle Owen is just super annoying and intrusive and doesn't know anything. It just pretty much ruined Luke's life. So we know that the king of Alderaan is basically just Bail Organa. So it kind of begs the question for me, what if Padme did survive? If she would have actually been with Leia until she was much older and told her about her father eventually. She would have heard about Anakin, of course, becoming Vader and that Vader is still alive. I'm sure she would have gone and seen him, and maybe that would have been the possible hope that we could have gotten for Vader to turn back into Anakin. I strongly believe that if Padme were still alive and she didn't die due to her sadness or heartbreak, then Anakin could have probably come back and fought the Emperor. Then again, maybe not, because she did try to do that when Anakin was entering his dark side powers. So maybe she couldn't actually turn him. Maybe it was far too late for Anakin until the very end, when Luke sacrificed himself in front of his father in the name of love, and at that point Anakin couldn't let another family member die before him. So I guess it really came down to that last moment, no matter what. The problem with Anakin was that sure, he wanted to save Padme from death, but there was a lot in him that just wanted to be extremely powerful and to be respected. And this, I think, harkens back to a complex that he may have had when he was a kid with being a slave and being Watto's slave and being mistreated. Not only that, but also the Jedi turning their backs on him. So which, as we can see in George's words here, it seems that the Jedi did indeed turn their backs on him. I mean, think about it, and I've gone over this in videos a lot of times. They really didn't give Anakin much respect. They gave him a Padawan. Others referred to him as master, but they wouldn't grant him the title of master, which he only needed to go into the restricted section and find different things relating to Padme's survival, possible powers that he didn't know about. When his mother was dying, he had visions and dreams about her. Obi-Wan just said, hey, don't worry about it. Don't even think about it. Be careful of your thoughts. They betray you. Anakin in every part of his life was pretty much always a slave, to Watto, to the Jedi, and then to Emperor Palpatine. And in the end, he died, but he died a free man. So do you think Padme would have gone to the Death Star to confront Anakin? Perhaps she would reveal who Leia truly was, saying, Anakin, this is your daughter. Or would she keep that a secret out of fear that Vader would torture their daughter to death or turn her to the dark side? He was extremely unbalanced at that point, so she didn't really even know him anymore. Anyways, let me know your thoughts down below. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I always love going into these backstories on, the words from George Lucas himself, because it's never going to get more official and more canon in my opinion. Hope you have a great day. Leave a like if you enjoyed this one, and I will follow up with more videos from these books. I love them. Catch you then, and remember, the Force will be with you, always.